Hey guys, welcome back to another Raid Shadow Legends video. I'm your host Voodoo, and today we're talking about Ultra Nightmare. I've had a lot of success lately, and I get asked daily about my team comp and what's been working for me here. My latest personal best is 46 million damage in Ultra Nightmare. And a lot of people in Reddit and Facebook, they're asking questions. They're always trying to help out, which, I always appreciate feedback on my comps. I just wanted to do this video to share with you guys kind of the mindset behind the video and what's making this work. I get a lot of suggestions that I can kind of see where it's coming from, but I wanted to take the time and explain why I'm doing what I'm doing and why it's working the way it is. So if we break down this comp right here, you're going to notice a couple of things. Yes, there is a triple counter in this composition, but only 2 counters are really active at any time. So the third counter is a waste, and that's one of the first things a lot of people tend to point out. Why do you have a triple counter in there? You're better off replacing Skull Crusher with someone that does damage. That's without a doubt, first and foremost, the most common suggestion that I get back. The reason why is it's not really about a third counter. It's about what Martyr brings to the table. If I use Skull Crusher and Valkyrie as my counters, which I'll cover in a minute why, what Martyr brings to the table is increased defense, decreased defense, decreased attack, etc. It's her kit, and usually when you don't have a god tier legendary like Martyr, you're having to bring 2 champions to the table to get what she brings in her kit. If we were to pull her up in a little bit and you look at her kit, she's basically a decreased defense, increased defense, and a decreased attack, all in her kit. And that typically is difficult to get in one champion. So her role is nothing but debuffs and buffs. Now, she does dish a little bit of damage. I do have her crit rate and her crit damage up as high as I can, while making sure the rest of her stats are intact, which we'll go over in a minute. But I wanted to point out her role. Her role is defense aura, first and foremost, which is really critical for Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss. So she's defensive aura, then increased defense, decreased defense, and decreased attack, all in one champion, which is quite a difficult thing to do. Those of you that have Terrell or someone else, they don't bring quite as much to the table that she does. Now, I'm going to slip over here to my 2 counters, Skull Crusher and Valkyrie. They have very unique things in their kit that make them really good twins for doing Ultra Nightmare, and that's the shields that they bring. So Skull Crusher, if you were ever to look at his kit, and again, we'll peek at it in a moment, he brings in not only a counter, but he brings in the ability to protect his allies for... and which adds up to a lot of damage, and then puts an unkillable on him. So one of the reasons that I use Skull Crusher, like I said, is he brings this a shield for the entire team. It refreshes quite quickly, and it makes it unkillable for him for that single turn. A lot of other champions, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, like Jarek, for example, people are Tyrant. There's other champions that will bring a similar type of shield to your allies, but they're lacking in the unkillable that he's got on the very end of that skill kit, which enables him to last through the round when you get up into those higher tier rounds of Ultra Nightmare, basically. So he's very, very special when it comes to being an epic counterattack champion. Again, he brings in, he brings in that shield, he brings in that ally protect. You definitely want that, and then that unkillable. So that's why I use Skull Crusher, even though he could easily be replaced with someone like an Altan or a Rosin or someone that does a lot of damage and use Martyr as the other counterattack. Not having that ally protect is what keeps me able to go 9, 10, 11, 12, even 13 minutes into the game like this. So the minute I replace Skull Crusher, this will get cut by 4 or 5 minutes. And so even though I could put a better damage dealer in this slot right here, because the fight is shortened so much, with this composition, I just don't get the duration I need out of it to beat this damage, which is why I run Skull Crusher. So when we look at Valkyrie, Valkyrie again has another special kit. She's by every mean possible the god tier for defensive champs for doing Ultra Nightmare. So her kit's very unique in that what she brings again is she brings a A2 stand firm to this composition. And that places a shield buff on allies for 3 turns and a counterattack. And that shield is proportional to her defense. So if you have her defense through the roof, which I do, mine pushes about 6,500 defense. That shield is unbelievable. So when you look at these two champions and you have Skull Crusher going 1 round, and then you alternate the next round for Valkyrie shield, the sustain generated by these two shield champions, in addition to the increased defense and decreased defense debuffs from Martyr, enable you to have a ridiculous sustained long-term fights. Okay, so that's how we're staying alive. Now let's talk about how we're actually dishing out the damage. The damage all comes from Bad L. Yes, these individual champions do add up, 5 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million. You're in a fight for 7 minutes long and it's in a legendary, they're going to do some damage. So the basic premise behind the comp is after you get their defense where it needs to be, I start to focus on their crit rate and crit damage as best I can, as long as their speed and accuracy are in there, to start pumping up these guys little by little. And that's all about gear, guys. And we're going to look at the comps individually here in a second, but that's all about gear. Gear is what's going to start to inch these guys up a little bit more. But the vast majority of the damage is coming from Bad L. Now, I have Draco as well. Draco can do this. A lot of Poisoners can do this. Why Bad L is really the end-all, be-all to this is because what he brings in his kit is he brings in a cure. And as long as he's the fastest in my group, no matter what champion gets stunned every round, Bad L will start off with curing that stun, so that I have 5 champs in the fight every round. So that's why he overall makes a better team poisoner comp for me, is because he brings in that cure. He also brings in, obviously, good poison, continuous heal, which is always nice to help top off your allies, and then finally, he has a passive which does more damage for poison. So all in all, again, he's another god tier for Clan Boss Ultra Nightmare. I kind of have a dream team here. It's what I refer to it quite a bit. When you look at this, I literally have the best in every slot. So if I have a great poisoner here, a good cure, and a good continuous heal, what is Vizier doing? Vizier is literally one of the most rare champs in the game when it comes to Clan Boss. It's literally the only thing and good thing I use him for. But when it comes to Clan Boss, he is a god. And what he enables you to do is once you land a debuff, whether it's a poison or a decreased defense, it stays on that Clan Boss for the entire duration of the fight. So you're basically taking accuracy out of the game. Once it's landed, it sticks, and it's there the whole fight. And so I never have to worry about reapplying those poisons once I get the number of poison counters that I need in this composition. So, you have 10 slots on the Clan Boss. I usually use 1 for decreased defense, 1 for decreased attack, and then if I'm able, I try and get 8 stacks of poisons using Bad L, which takes a couple of rounds to get that on, because he only puts on 2 poisons per round, but then Vizier will just extend them throughout the duration of the fight. Okay, so that pretty much explains the role of every player in the mix, if you will. So if we hop on over to the game here and we start breaking down these comps just a little bit more, a couple of things you're going to notice. Valkyrie is the only champion that I use that goes down the defensive line. And the reason being is she has a mastery that set that I really want to, for example, Laura Steele, I want to increase the base stats of defense. I'm doing everything on this character to get her defense as high as I can. I also go down the attack tree on her, but what we're doing with her, if you look at her stats are basically 6,500 defense. I don't really care about accuracy with her. She's not doing anything that I need. And she is speed tuned for Nightmare. Ultra Nightmare, sorry. So again, defense being high here, accuracy being not important, speed, crit rate, and crit damage. The more damage I get out of Valkyrie, the better, and that's going to start to happen by being able to slowly over time, through better gear, inch up these stats right there. Looking at Martyr, you're going to also notice that most of my champions, Valkyrie's in lifesteal, Martyr's in lifesteal, Draco's lifesteal, everyone's in lifesteal. And that's because, you know, do you really need it? A lot of people refer to it as training wheels on your champions. Nothing beats lifesteal with a tier 6 mastery. It guarantees me that my champions are topped off at the beginning of every round and everyone usually stays at full health. Now, do you need it? No. A lot of people that don't have Vizier, my whole composition is based around lasting as long as I can to give the poisons the time and the duration they need to tick. So if you don't have a Vizier and you're not going down defensive lines in most of your champions, then chances are you're not going to necessarily take it the same approach I did. Vizier changes the entire direction you take your composition here in your champions. So everyone's in lifesteal gear because I want them to last as long as possible. Again, coming over here to Martyr, you can see since I have Vizier, I don't need to worry about debuff extensions, which is why I don't really go down the support tree. I'm doing everything I can here to increase defense and counters and stuff like that. So looking at her stats, she's, again, you know, she's about 4,000 defense. Not great. I'd love to have her a little bit higher, but you'll see her crit rate and her crit damage are really solid for being a defensive-based champion. So she overall, I found this build to work really good. She is, again, tuned for Ultra Nightmare. I have found that sacrificing a little bit of defense and putting it over here to crit rate and crit damage is what gives me the best numbers I can out of her. Let's pop on over now to Draco. Draco, I'm not actually using for this build, so we're going to skip him. And let's look at my Bad L. Again, lifesteal gear. We're talking 40, almost 4,500 defense. So crit rate and crit damage. Accuracy is way up. Again, his whole role is to survive and land the poisons. Nothing more. That's what we do. And then finally, we've got Vizier. He is our extender. He's also the defensive tree and the attack tree. What I find with his skills that work best to get these stats, his defense is about 3,600. He's usually the first one to die in my composition. Not always, but you know, once his extenders are put on the target, his value starts to decrease significantly. I mean, at this point, all he's putting out is personal damage after I get 10 or 12 stacks of poisons and debuffs on the target. Again, his speed for Ultra Nightmare, and then his accuracy is pretty decent. So that's basically his role. So we've got, like I said, we've got Vizier, Bad L, Valkyrie, Martyr. Everybody's playing a role here in this particular composition. Come over here and we look at Clan Boss. Let's see, what are we gonna do here? Let's take a quick peek. One thing I didn't go over is my Skull Crusher. Let's go look at Skull Crusher real quick. Skull Crusher, where are you? I have so many champions, you gotta bear with me. Here he is. Let's take him out of the vault. Meant to have him out. So Skull Crusher, like I was saying, his skill that makes all this work is Stonewall. That 50% ally protection with the counterattack and an unkillable on him is what makes him tick. This ability, believe it or not, is actually a hindrance. If this debuff lands, it kind of screws up the fight. Reason being, even though I have his accuracy at 121, even an Ultra Nightmare that usually will land in a slot before I get all my poisons applied, which means I'm eating up one of my 10 slots for that heal reduction when I don't want it. So my challenge on this guy is actually to get his accuracy to go down while I'm getting everything else to go up. So it's a real challenge, believe it or not. A lot of people have struggle getting your accuracy to go up. I'm actually having a struggle getting the accuracy to go down. And that's what I'm trying to do on this particular champion. His stats are, again, up there. Really good defense. Crit and crit damage, so. But again, his major objective is literally to survive as long as he can and apply that stone wall. And so alternating back and forth between Valkyrie and Skull Crusher is what makes that composition work. So let's go ahead and jump in to We'll do an Ultra Nightmare here. You can see a lot of my clanmates have hit it today. I have not hit it yet. You know, the difficulty in this composition is it's kind of crazy. You can get anywhere from, you know, on a bad day, mid to upper 30s Ultra Nightmare, to on a good day 45, 46 million. It's just RNG really can have a 20 or 30% swing in this game, which is really frustrating. I wish they would narrow that gap just a little bit. You can have a fantastic run, and if things just don't land just right, it's kind of over. Now, about this composition, the first couple of rounds I do do manual this, because I need to get the right buffs on in the right order. So, you know, this is kind of a semi-auto deal. It starts off with Bad L. I go ahead and apply my poison. You'll see I've got now 2 of 10 slots eaten up. I immediately go, and for the first round, I go with a increased defense on Martyr, and I'm going to use that in conjunction with Skull Crusher's Stone Wall we talked about. So now, the increased defense from Martyr and the Stone Wall from Skull Crusher is one series of blocks. I'm going to pass on Valkyrie's shield this round, because Martyr and Skull Crusher make up what I call the spray. When he does that spit in your face, that is my Skull Crusher and Martyr round. So my double counterattacks kick in. The second time around, I'm just using my A1. I go ahead now and use my decrease attack, which I've got there. I'm going to extend it. You'll notice that these will start to extend. So this is his A1 for Skull Crusher, which I actually don't want to land. If it does, this will cost me at least a mil and a half by the end of the fight. It got resisted. Good. That's what I want. Second time around, I go ahead and use Valkyrie's Stand Firm. She is going to withstand the Hulk Smash, which is what I call it. You never want to do it in reverse order, where the Hulk Smash is hitting the Skull Crusher Stone Wall. It doesn't hold up as well. A1 again here. And you'll notice this time around that on Martyr's A1, she has her decreased defense. So usually on a counterattack, that'll eventually land by itself. So far, this is a pretty good setup. This is ideally what I want. 2 poisons applied, my decreased attack, decreased defense. Now, a perfect round for 44 to 46 million damage will be poisons the rest of the fight. And that's why I manual the first couple of rounds, just to make sure that nothing else sneaks in there. Because Vizier, if you put his A2 in there, you can see that he can get a block debuff, decreased attack, and heal reduction. He can eat up 3 poison slots, and I don't really need that on this fight. So I always use his A1 through the entire fight. You can see the extensions now are starting to take over. This is the A1 that I want not to land. It resisted again, which is what we want. A1 on Valkyrie, because this isn't her round to put up her shield. It's still left over from last time. Alright, so second time around for Bad L to land his poisons, and he'll also going to hit the cure on Martyr. So Martyr's back into the fight for this round. That's how we put her shield back up. We're going to go ahead and do an extend. See, these clickers will go higher. Now we have his Stone Wall, because he always goes with Martyr. A1 for Valkyrie. She'll alternate and go next round. There's the spit. And here we go. So now things are coming into place. We now have 6 debuffs on the Clan Boss. Everything that we want so far. The trick here is Skull Crusher, is RNG going to screw us with that 120 accuracy and land that damn heal reduction, which is going to cost us a good million+ damage in the end on Clan Boss. And I know this through extensive testing. I have run hundreds of team compositions here, working on all the ins and the outs. And once I click this on auto, I'll do a little more talking on the composition and what works. So again, we've gotten resist on every one of these. So now we've got 6 up. One more round and we can get some more poisons on this guy. Extend. See, that's the beauty of Vizier. Once those are on there, you never have to worry again. Let's hope this doesn't land. Good, resist. He can still land it on the counter, though. Let's hope he doesn't. All right, so we're going to go ahead and put 2 more on there. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need one more round of Skull Crusher not landing his heal reduction, which usually it always gets me. It just does. I get very few fights where even with 120 accuracy, it gets by. And it's frustrating as hell. I mean, whoever would have thought you'd go the opposite direction. There it is. Boom. Every time It gets landed. So I already know this probably isn't going to be a 46, 45 million fight, just because that eats up a whole poison counter for the next 10 minutes of this fight. And that's kind of unfortunate. You know, that's why one of my key strategies right now is trying to reduce that accuracy more and more and more. And there's just nothing I can do other than RNG to get that from landing. But let's just see where with this particular, and again with Vizier, the issue is he'll extend that heal reduction, so I can't just let it play out. So we just have to go forward with it. Unfortunately, we lose a lot of damage from that. I wish I could turn that off. I wish Polar Aim would give me the option to just, you know, not apply certain things, but that's just part of the game. So we're going to get this last round of poison in from Bad L, which should be right here. Last round of poison. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's all we can do. Now we're going to auto this fight. Let it take over. It doesn't take 5 minutes. When I'm not talking, I can usually do it in about 2.5. So the rest of the fight is auto. So, you know, and let me be straight with you guys. This is a work in progress. Just last week, this comp was at 40 million. Before that, it was at 36 million. I mean, not just 4 weeks ago, I had this composition putting up 28, 25 million. What's changed? You know, I was telling my clan the other day, some people were waiting to start killing Ultra Nightmare before we actually started working on Ultra Nightmare, and I was explaining to people the jump from Nightmare to Ultra Nightmare is pretty significant. It's a lot less forgiving when you get to Ultra Nightmare. Meaning, if you're getting ready to start attacking Ultra Nightmare as a clan, you really need to put the time in now. Don't wait until you drop it the first time to get in here and start to figure out what works. It's going to take some time, guys. It took me about a good month and a half of burning, you know, 6-8 keys a day, trying to tweak everything and learning about how much defense was enough versus hit points versus accuracy, crit damage, and then making sure the order was right, and then testing the speeds. It's definitely some theory crafting that you got to get into. Everyone wants to get on YouTube and just get the answer. The problem is there's so many compositions out there. I guarantee you most everybody watching this video doesn't have the exact composition that I have here. So you can kind of learn the principles of what they're doing here, but you still got to look at your own comp and figure out what works for you. I'm drastically working hard, pushing hard, trying to get that 50 million. I really want to get into the 50 million club. I only have heard of maybe one other guy in the game getting there. Not that I'm in all the proper, you know, channels, but I definitely know it's an elitist club. I'd really like to get in there. I'm working hard to get in there. So let's talk about my composition and what I'm doing next. I'm at 46 million now. And, you know, other than grinding the hell out of Dragon and getting some better gear and Spider 20, which, you know, having really fast runs helps. My Spider 20 is about 23 seconds. My Dragon is probably about 30-something seconds. You know, that helps, but I think I burned 10,000 energy the other day, and I got one upgrade for this team. So that's not really the answer. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I started looking at some of the things I can do with this comp. The things that I'm doing next with this particular composition is a lot of these champions have accuracies 270, 280. I'm about to start experimenting with ripping the accuracy banner off the champions. And going with something else, whether it's a defense banner or a hit point banner, to try and buy 1 or 2 more rounds and a little bit more damage out of this composition. And here's my thought process on that. If Skull Crusher's landing his heal reduction debuff, which I can't stand, with 120 accuracy, I'm pretty sure that I could get debuffs to land at 200 accuracy. Now, it may not land on the first round, but here's the trick. With Vizier, once it lands one time, I don't have to worry about it landing 15 more times over the duration of the fight. So I'm beginning to think it's worth sacrificing the accuracy on some of these champions just to give them more sustain and more damage, because in the first couple rounds of the fight, the Ultra Nightmare boss is soft anyway. He's not hitting hard. So even if I don't have everything just right in the beginning, it's no big deal. It's worrying about making sure I have it, you know, 13 minutes into the fight. And you're going to see now, you know, we're pushing 9 minutes into the fight, maybe 10 minutes into the fight. It starts to get real around 11 minutes. 11 minutes, you can start to dictate kind of where things are going and how good this fight's really going to be. I already know from the heal reduction here that I lost you know, every time you can see it goes by 50,000, 50,000, 50,000. Those are poison counters. I'm losing one every single round because of this guy here. So if you figure an 11-minute fight with 50,000 damage per tick, that adds up. That's well over 1 million, if not 2 million damage at the end of the fight, which is really unfortunate. So I already know this can't be a personal best. And that's just RNG until I can work on getting his stats lower. But you can see the speed comp tune here is still working. The counterattack is up for the Hulk Smash. The defensive up and the Skull Crusher shield is up for the Spit. And this will just keep going and keep going. Now, the Ultra Nightmare Clan Boss hits harder and harder every single round. And it starts to get more difficult. You'll see that lifesteal gear is keeping him topped off. The continuous heal with Bad Ale helps, but it will not keep up with the huge smashing like Skull Crusher just got right here. What's going to get him topped off is that lifesteal right there. And that's why I run lifesteal on my champions past 10 minutes. If your fights aren't going that long and you have a speed comp and you're going about damage quick, you don't need to worry about the lifesteal. So now I'm 11, going up on 11 minutes. Once 11 minutes gets here, that's kind of when RNG, is it going to screw me or am I going to get that one more round in? Then we can kind of see it as I dictate it through here. So far, everyone's doing real good. Got a little bit of shield left over. No one's really off counter yet. Everything's landing properly. That Spit's starting to get pretty hard. This is the difference here of running Skull Crusher versus another champion that has Ally Protect. If this Unkillable wasn't on him, and he was a champion that didn't have it, he would probably die on the next round where he spits, which I believe is called the, it's like the Flesh Terror, Flesh Witherer. So watch here. We're coming up on it here in a minute. See if we get it. All right. Right there, he puts up his Unkillable. He's going to get knocked. He's starting to get knocked pretty low. He's going to get knocked lower and lower and lower as this timer goes. And he's going to get to the point where he has no health left, and the only thing left keeping him up is that Unkillable. That's the difference between a Skull Crusher and another champion with the same type of ability. So I think these guys are very crucial who I've chosen for this composition compared to other champions that might have similar differences in their kit, but very similar to make it work. So getting pretty close. I'm guessing this next Flesh Wither is going to take him pretty low down here, maybe even all the way to nothing. There it is. That Unkillable right there is what makes the difference between him and all the other champions. So at this point now, I can get at least another round with my Valkyrie, because she'll do her shield the next round. You'll see the lifesteal topped off Skull Crusher, and boom, we keep going. We're 12 minutes, 30 seconds in the fight. We're getting all those poison tickers to go off, and we still keep going. This is what makes this composition juicy. So anything past 13 minutes starts to get insane. I don't know how much time I wasted on this composition while I was talking, so the timing may be a little bit off. But there's the Unkillable. See where everyone's really starting to get knocked down now. You can see the continuous heal kicked off, but it's nowhere near what you need. If it wasn't for that lifesteal, we wouldn't even have a chance to get these guys topped off. Here comes the Stand Firm. So we get at least one more round. We're now over 13 minutes into this fight. It's a beast mode fight. We're getting up there. Man, if that was one heal reduction counter wasn't in there, this would be some serious damage. We'd have another 2 million on top of this. Trying really hard to get there. We're going to probably lose somebody very soon. I mean, we're 13 and a half in. This is going. Here we go. All right. You can tell this is about it. We're going to get one more Stand Firm. And sometimes this guy hits so hard this far in, he'll blast right through Valkyrie's shield. I mean, that tells you how hard this guy's hitting. At that point, defense doesn't matter. Boom, here it comes. Nope, still lid. Wow, we're going 14 minutes into this fight. Now, this is kind of, this is getting kind of ridiculous. I don't know how much time I wasted. We're probably going to lose Skull Crusher if I had to guess right here. Unless he gets that Unkillable up. Come on. Here it comes. Who are we losing? Okay, so we lost Martyr. There goes our increased defense, but it's already up there thanks to Vizier, so it's okay to lose her. There goes Valkyrie, but we're 14 minutes in this fight. It's going to fall apart. Nothing you can do. We're coming to an end here. Try and get one more round. We'll take it. And the end. Where do we end up? 41 million. And that's what I'm talking about. So even though the sustain was there, we lost a good 2 million on that heal reduction debuff getting in there. That would have been about 43 million. And the rest is just a little bit of RNG. You can tell these guys had a little bit lower damage. All in all, that's basically the secret to the comp. You're looking at upwards, like I said, you're looking at upwards of 46 million with this composition, depending on RNG. There's nothing you can do about that, but you just saw about, what, 41 right here. And that's about it, guys. If you have any questions, shoot me a message. Reach out and talk to me. I'd love for you guys to chime back in, as I do future videos on this composition. It's still a work in progress. I got a ways to go with it, but this kind of gives you an idea of my theory crafting and the way I'm going with this composition. But so far, 46 million, 4 to go. Chime in next time, and thanks for joining us. This is Voodoo, and I'm out.